Algebra 1, Chapter 2, Section 2, Solving One-Step Equations. So, first thing you got to think about here is what does it mean to solve? Oops. To solve means find the values for the variables that make the equation or inequality true. Right now we're just talking about equations, and in one-step equations there's usually only ever one solution. So we're looking for the one value that makes it true. There are equations later on where two values can make the equation true. There's also situations where all values make it true or no values make it true. So there's lots of different scenarios, but that's the ultimate goal of solving is if I've got some equation, there is some number for the variable that makes the statement true. That's usually what your goal is to find that value. Now, whenever you do a step, you are going to want to make sure that the equation is staying balanced, and we do that by doing the same thing to both sides, like t minus 2 equals 6. If I want to isolate that t, I have to get rid of the minus 2. And whatever I do to do that, I have to make sure I do it to both sides. Otherwise, things come unbalanced and we no longer have equivalent equations. And each step should be an equivalent equation. We're going to start out with the addition property of equality, which means if we need to add something to both sides to keep the equation or to solve the equation, to isolate that variable, then I can do that, and it's okay. C minus 22, it looks like I'm taking 22 away from C. So the opposite of minus 22 is add 22. And so I'm going to do that to both sides. And I want to usually line them up with where they're happening when I'm working on it vertically. The 22 is going to go underneath the minus 22 because they're going to cancel each other out. The 54 and the 22 are going to end up getting added together. Or if I had another variable, which will come up later on, I'm not going to put the plus 22 underneath that because they don't get to really combine like terms. You got to think like you're combining like terms here too, just we're doing it vertically now. So we complete that. Nothing is happening to the C. Negative 22 plus 22 is plus 0 equals 54. But anything plus 0 is just C. So no, not 54. How about 76? Let me actually add those two numbers together. So C equals 76. Now one thing, we usually don't actually write this line in here where it shows the 0. Sometimes we do because it's good to keep track of what we've done. But for single step problems, I don't have to do that. I can just skip that step altogether. And so the one step that I'm showing is here in red. Add 22 to both sides. Sometimes you'll also see it where people like to work all on the same line. So I got minus 22, so the next thing I'm going to do is add 22. And this way, it's a lot more clear that you're combining like terms on the right-hand side of the equation. Minus 22 plus 22, again, cancels out to be 0. So all we're left with is C. 54 plus 22 is 76. So either one of those methods is the same for example 1 here. It's your choice on what you do. I always prefer the vertical because it helps me keep the steps separate each along the way. And when I write something down, I don't have to squeeze a bunch of stuff into it and what I've already written. I've got a nice clean spot below it to do my work. So that's why I prefer the vertical method.